In London's bustling train station, train conductor Joe clocks out for the day. Reaching his locker, he's met with a disheartening note. His promotion request got rejected. Crumpling the paper in frustration, his supervisor pops by. The night guard's down with the flu, and Joe's the only option for the overnight shift. Initially reluctant, he catches a glimpse of his secret crush, Ellen, working as tonight's snack cart attendant. Duty calls, and Joe boards the departing train, ticket inspections in tow. Most passengers comply, but some get grumpy, making his job a drag. A kind gesture of helping an elderly woman retrieve her dropped cane turns into a jump scare when her growling dog makes an unexpected appearance. Kate, another passenger, claims she misplaced her ticket and throws a fit over the imposed fine. Meanwhile, a young man named Billy ducks into the bathroom to change, only to find it marked out of order with water gushing out the door. Finally gathering his courage, Joe approaches Ellen for a date, but gets politely rejected, all while the ever-observant passenger Paul makes the situation even more awkward. As the night deepens, the train chugs along under a rainy sky, bathed in the light of the full moon. Passengers disembark at various stops, leaving only a handful on board. Upon entering a wooded area, a screech pierces the air, bringing the train to a halt. Alarmed, Joe investigates the source. He spots a shadow lurking behind a door, but before he can turn the knob, a voice crackles over the speakers. The driver assures everyone they've hit something on the tracks and requests patience while they assess the situation. Building up his courage again, Joe opens the door to find the source of the commotion. Ellen's snack cart tipped over. He struggles to lift it, but Adrian, another passenger, steps in and gets the job done. To Joe's surprise, Adrian ends up holding not one, but two sets of keys that somehow landed near the cart. The passengers are in a panic. Joe tries his best to calm them down, but the train driver, Tony, isn't answering the radio. Joe uses the train speakers to ask everyone to be patient. Meanwhile, Tony checks outside and finds a deer stuck under the train. He can't pull it out on his own. Suddenly, Tony hears a strange noise and is attacked by a scary creature. The creature eats Tony, but luckily the rain washes away the blood before anyone else sees. Back on the train, Joe gets frustrated. He uses his keys to open the driver's cabin, but it's empty. He can't find Tony anywhere. Joe asks Ellen to keep the passengers calm by giving them free snacks. He looks outside again, but still no sign of Tony. Joe calls the rescue team, but they're stuck because of a storm causing lots of accidents. The phone signal is bad, but Joe manages to understand they won't arrive for 4 whole hours. He tells the passengers the bad news, and they start freaking out even more. When Joe tells them the driver is missing, they complain even louder. Adrian yells at everyone to quiet down. He points out their phones have no signal, so they should walk to the next station to call for help. Joe worries it's dangerous and he could lose his job, but the passengers all want him to be their guide. He has no choice but to agree. Joe unlocks the train door, and everyone walks in a line next to the train, not realizing something is watching them from the woods. Soon, they hear something moving in the bushes. Joe and Ellen rush to check it out, and they are horrified to find Tony's body, all torn up. They race back to the train and tell everyone to get back on board. Howls and growls fill the air. It takes a few seconds for Joe to unlock the door, and everyone scrambles inside, scared. An elderly couple is slower than the others, and the monster bites the woman, Jenny, on the leg. The creature even shakes her between the train doors before they manage to pull her inside and lock the door. Ellen cleans Jenny's wound with water and tries to bandage it. Billy and Matthew try to see outside with a flashlight, but it's too dark. The creature slams against the train, making a terrifying growl. Everyone stays quiet. They hear the creature scratching the outside and wait until the howling stops far away before talking again. Joe goes to the front of the train to use the phone, but it doesn't work. Billy comes with him and says he knows about fixing things. He looks at the train controls and sees a broken pipe leaking fuel. They can't leave until they fix it. Outside, the train's antenna is broken, like something ripped it off. Joe tells everyone about the leak. The passengers argue about what attacked them. Adrian thinks it's a bear, but Nina says bears don't howl. Jenny even thinks it might not be an animal. Suddenly, they hear noises from another car. Maybe the monster is trying to get in. Joe grabs a fire extinguisher and goes with Billy and Adrian to check. They move slowly through the car and find the noise is coming from the bathroom. Joe unlocks the door, expecting the monster, but Paul tumbles out. He's been stuck there since before the crash. They tell Paul everything, but he's more upset about missing his stop than the monster. Later, they check on Jenny's wound. It looks worse, and she has a fever. Kate sees scared Nina and tells her stories to make her feel better. Suddenly, the monster attacks again, banging on the door and jumping on the roof. The train's lights flicker. Nina's phone gets a signal, and her mom calls. But before she can ask for help, the creature bursts through the window. It grabs Nina by the legs and drags her out screaming. Kate tries to pull her back to help, but Matthew pulls Kate away. They hear the creature attacking Nina on the roof, and her blood splatters on the windows. Scared, everyone hides in another car. Kate yells at them for not helping Nina, but Jenny's husband yells back. They need to work together to stay alive. Luckily, the train has tools. The passengers start blocking all the doors and windows of the car with anything they can find, like the seats. Time crawls by, and everyone gets more and more scared. Jenny and Kate realize they never even learned Nina's name. Jenny sadly admits she always wanted to be a mom, but never could. In the corner, Adrian whispers to Joe. He shows off 2 sets of keys, one for his family's nice home, and another for a secret apartment for his bad choices. Adrian believes you have to do whatever it takes to survive, even if it means leaving others behind. He asks Joe to join him and escape, leaving the weaklings to their fate. Before Joe can answer, Jenny throws up a lot of blood, even losing 2 teeth. Everyone starts arguing again about what to do, but Joe notices Paul is gone. The barricade is open. Adrian wants to close it, but Joe and Billy convince him to wait a minute so they can find Paul. Joe searches the other car and finds Paul stuck in the bathroom again. As Joe tries to open the door, the light goes out and the monster bursts in from the ceiling to attack Paul. Joe jumps back as the door gets wrecked during the fight, with blood spraying out of the holes. He peeks through a hole and sees Paul being mauled to death. Horrified, he tries to get back to the others, but Adrian has blocked the door. Speaking of Adrian, he hears the noise and decides to ditch the train and save himself. He removes the barricade on the main door, but it's locked and Joe has the key. Back with Joe, he desperately pushes against the door as the monster approaches. Just before it attacks, the others finally open the door and pull him inside, then block the door again. While everyone piles furniture against the door, Adrian tries, and fails, to break the window with the fire extinguisher. The monster is too strong and smashes through the barricade, scaring Ellen stiff. Luckily, Joe shoves her out of the way before it can hurt her. The creature lunges at Joe, roaring in his face, but Ellen stabs it. The monster swats her back, sending her flying. The guys take advantage of this and jump on the creature, beating and stabbing it with anything they can find. Billy gets grabbed by the neck and choked against the ceiling, but Adrian smashes the fire extinguisher into the creature's wound, making it drop Billy. Matthew joins the fight with a fire axe and keeps hitting the monster until it's finally dead. Kate has to hold Matthew back as he goes crazy with rage. After a few seconds of silence, they look closely at the monster. It has a ring on its finger, just like a human. Jenny was right. It looks way too human-like. Matthew, catching his breath, says it must be a werewolf. Suspicion hangs heavy in the air as Adrian reminds everyone about the dangers of werewolf bites. Jenny becomes the center of worried glances. While some passengers deal with the body, Ged spins a chilling tale of a train wreck that happened years ago in the same area. Missing people, mauled victims, a mystery that remains unsolved. Ged suggests the werewolf might have been responsible back then too. The beast stirs and lets out a howl, prompting Joe to smash its face repeatedly with the fire extinguisher. Out in the dark forest, other werewolves pick up the dying howl of their leader. Suddenly, Jenny's features start to shift, and a growl escapes her throat. Adrian urges them to kill her before the transformation is complete, but Ged intervenes. A struggle ensues, but Joe delivers a punch that sends Adrian sprawling. They decide to tie up both Jenny and Adrian with belts as a precaution. With a plan in mind, Billy sets to work fixing the train. He instructs Ellen on the buttons she needs to press to get them moving once the train responds. Joe rallies the group with a hopeful speech through the speaker. Outside, Matthew and Billy quickly locate the leak. Billy dives under the train to fix it while Matthew stands guard. Inside, Kate drops a bombshell. She and Adrian had a fling in the past, but he doesn't even remember it. Jenny starts gasping for breath, and Adrian insists they take action before it's too late. A noise from the forest distracts Matthew, luring him away and leaving Billy in the dark. Following Nina's cries for help, Matthew stumbles upon a horrifying scene, her body being devoured by a werewolf. Panic sets in, and he tries to flee, but the werewolves quickly surround him. His desperate attempts to fight them off with his axe are futile, and they pounce, tearing him apart. Back on the train, The agonizing screams and a chilling howl pierce the silence. Jenny freezes in terror as Adrian pleads with Kate to kill her. Billy finally fixes the train, and the lights flicker back on. Joe and Ellen scramble to figure out the controls. As the werewolves approach the train, Billy dives under it to hide until the coast is clear. Unfortunately, the beasts appear at the front window, startling Ellen and Joe. They manage to activate the train just in time. Billy barely manages to climb back on as it speeds away. Suddenly, Jenny's transformation completes. Kate rushes to untie Adrian before Jenny breaks free with her newfound strength. Adrian tries to help Ged, but Jenny sends him flying. Just then, another werewolf lunges at the door and snatches Kate, who lets out a desperate scream for help. Adrian kicks her and the werewolf off the train. The train speeds away, leaving Kate behind to become werewolf food. Ged tries to calm his wife, but Adrian fights Jenny again, hitting her with a wrench. Furious, Ged punches Adrian before he can kill Jenny. Jenny then jumps on her husband and bites his neck, causing his blood to rain. Jenny tries to go after Adrian, but Billy struggles to hold on and accidentally breaks his repairs, causing the train to stop again. Joe and Ellen rush out of the control car and stab Jenny right before she can kill Adrian. An angry Joe then jumps on Adrian to beat him up, but Ellen stops him. The werewolves take this chance to enter the train, so Joe and Ellen rush to lock the door. Adrian realizes he has a better chance to escape if one person stays behind his bait, so he knocks down Joe. Joe immediately retaliates, starting a fight. While they struggle, Ellen grabs a piece of sharp metal and cuts Adrian until he lets go of Joe. While Ellen takes care of Joe, Adrian blocks the way, grabs the keys, and jumps out of the train. The werewolves quickly surround Joe and Ellen, but before they can attack, Billy appears with a Molotov bomb. He throws it at one of the werewolves, causing it to burn and starting a fire. Then he lights a torch and scares the other monsters into stepping back into the other car while giving Joe and Ellen a crowbar. This allows Joe and Ellen to force the door open and jump out of the train while Billy gets captured and killed too. As Ellen and Joe run through the forest, they hear the werewolves coming after them. Deciding it's too late, Joe kisses Ellen and tells her to go while he stays behind as a distraction. Crying, Ellen finds a path to escape while Joe fights the werewolves with the piece of metal, managing to stab one. No matter how hard he fights, the werewolves overpower him, and he gets bitten. Moments later, Ellen reaches the next train station with Joe's name tag in hand. Meanwhile, Adrian continues to run and finds some clothes on the ground. The werewolves suddenly surround him, and a newly transformed Joe jumps to attack.